Good morning. Yeah, hey, how you doing? Listen, we are live. We're good to go. It's an exciting day in the neighborhood. Why is it exciting? Well, it's always exciting. This is Traffic Services, the most exciting place on earth, according to me. You don't have to agree, but we are, why did I turn off that overlay? We are currently live at Traffic Services. We are going to answer your traffic and police questions for a full hour. I can't wait. I look forward to this every single day. My name is Sean Shapiro, and I am the traffic cop who talks on TikTok and radio and occasionally television. And, I do that kind of thing. You're currently watching you could be watching from one of a number of places. YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook. We've got Instagram and, of course, TikTok, the big place on the internet. I say it's the big because we have the largest audience. Our largest audience happens to be on TikTok because we have 602.9 thousand followers. If you are a follower of ours, thank you very much. If you're not a follower already, why aren't you? And that's for everybody else. If you're on Instagram and you're watching it and you haven't followed us, please do. If you're on YouTube, Twitch, LinkedIn, Facebook, or even Twitter, please follow along, become part of our social media family. If you are looking to how to find, you're on one platform but want to go to another platform and don't know how to find us, go to trafficcop.ca. That is where you can find my link tree, and it'll take you on a tour of all the different places. You can go to watch us anywhere. Yes. Good morning to Kayla Draconis, who comes in by way of YouTube. And, of course, Jacob says good morning. He is coming in from YouTube as well. Somebody asked me this morning if you can ask questions by way of Twitter, and you can't. I feel so bad. I want them to be part of our show, but they can't come in by Twitter because Twitter doesn't work. It doesn't work. We're hoping it fixes it one day. Mind you, if you're watching on Twitter, please send a message right now and we can test it. Ryan Pinn, good morning to you. Ryan Pinn is a distant. Is he a distant? Why do I have buzzing? Why do I suddenly have buzzing? Maybe I put my phone too close to it. Brian Pitt is from Nova Scotia. He's a driving instructor. He's a military guy, and we love him. He's a driver's ed dad. And yes, good wife. Good morning to my wife, who just tuned in by way of YouTube, which means, everyone behave, because otherwise she'll come out and get you. No, she won't. But thank you. She supports me. She supports my show. She supports me at home. She's awesome. And it's February. Oh no, that means I have to write a letter. No, I am. That's that time of year where we acknowledge our significant others for the amazingness that they are. And my wife is amazing, so I can acknowledge her every single day. And then I embarrass her by saying that, and then she says, "Stop doing that," and then I just do it more. So let's see here. This morning we will briefly discuss Vision Zero Enforcement Team. What is that? That is a dedicated team of enforcement professionals, officers, police officers who go out every single day in the city of Toronto to go and change driver behavior. We want to make the roads safer. They want to make the roads safer. They do it one ticket at a time. They do not hand out hugs. They hand out tickets. They don't go to other radio calls. They go to areas in the city that are plagued by dangerous driving, aggressive driving, speeding, distracted driving, impaired driving. Yeah. Analysts give them a list of where to go, and every day we announce where they're going on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. That's where we announce it. You can follow us there. You can go to Traffic Services on Twitter, Traffic Services Toronto on Instagram, and you can go to our Traffic Services page on YouTube. You can also just go and get the easy link by going to trafficcop.ca, because there are links on my link tree to all of those. Follow us. It's people say, why do you put up the information? Why do we tell people where you're going to be? Like, for instance, right now, I'm going to tell you that they're going to be in 52 Division and 41 Division today. Those are the communities, the neighborhoods of Kensington, Chinatown, Bay Street Corridor, Dorset Park, Kennedy Park, Birchcliff Park, and Cliffside. Why do we announce where we're going to be? We do it because we want the people who live there to know that we care, that we're coming out to help them, that they don't need to be afraid. Why would they be afraid, Sean? Why would they be afraid? Because people are choosing to drive in a manner that risks life. Not just their own, but everybody else on the road. These people who live in those neighborhoods, that work in the neighborhoods, that play in those neighborhoods, they deserve to be safe. And if you're going to go out there and make it dangerous, well, we're going to come out and meet you, and we're going to introduce ourselves, give you a little piece of paper, or sometimes a big piece of paper, with our name and number on it, and then we'll see you in court, because we want to stop you from doing it. And a ticket, people say it's just a money grab. We're just there to line the pockets of the government coffers. No. We're there to change driver behavior, because if you get a ticket and it hurts you and it hurts your insurance rating, maybe, just maybe, you'll change your behavior and it'll be the last ticket you ever get. Maybe we'll save a life because you'll choose to slow down or get off the phone, and then you won't have the collision you were destined to have because of the behavior you were displaying. Yes, rant over. That is my shtick in the morning. I start there, and then we can move on to you, because you're really what the show is all about. If you've got traffic and police questions, ask them in the comments below. If you're on Twitter, you can't do it. You got to come over to one of our other platforms. But we'd love to see you, regardless of where you are. We'd love to have you participate. Let's jump into some questions. And what do we have? Groundhog Day. Kayla reminds us that not only is it Valentine's Day, it is Groundhog Day coming up. And who's voting for more winter? Not me, not this guy. Okay. Stock 5.7 wants to know, what is the law on windshield tint in British Columbia? Sadly, I have no clue at all whatsoever. But you know what I have? I have Google, and so do you. Tint laws in British Columbia. Let's see what it says, because now I'm curious. And the first thing that comes up is from TintWiz. TintWiz. Do we trust TintWiz? I don't know. I've never met him, but. Apparently here you are allowed to apply windshield tint to a thin strip at the top of the windshield on a vehicle registered in British Columbia. Tint laws allow for a 7.5 centimeter strip, 3 inches of same. It's the same in Ontario, except we don't allow vehicles manufactured 2017 or newer to have them. So it says here, of a window film applied to the glass, and the strip of tinting can help keep the sun out of your eyes, blah, blah, blah. Let's see, since we're on the topic, let's see what they say about windows. Window tint is completely illegal on the front side windows of all privately owned vehicles in British Columbia. Wow. They're more strict than we are, because we allow up to 30% light blockage, but you're not allowed to prevent people from seeing inside. They can't have any tint. It says here, while this is a frustration for many vehicle owners, there are logical reasons to ban tint on these windows. First, the clear windows allow police and authorities to see in the cabin to ensure their own safety during a traffic stop. And second, because window film greatly reinforces auto glass. Tinting can make it hard to break a window and allows and prevent easy escape from a vehicle, to allow rescue personnel to get into the automobile if the doors are damaged in a collision. That said, you are allowed to install optically clear but UV blocking window film on these front side windows. What a great suggestion. Okay, I like the TintWiz. That's good. BC, I approve of their justification and explanation. Now, we are allowed in Ontario to have tint on the windows directly left and right of the driver, but you can't have more than 30% light blockage. That means 70% of the light has to get through. And additionally, if we can't see you, regardless of the tint, if you have 5% or 95%, if it prevents us from seeing you, that is a charge under the HTA for obscure interior of motor vehicle with color or reflective tint. You can't have reflective. Somebody said in the comments, I saw streaming by, so why does the police allow 5% tint? I have no idea what you're talking about. We don't have 5% tint. That would be illegal. Are brass knuckles illegal? I don't know how to pronounce your name. Pixinko, maybe, possibly. Brass knuckles are prohibited. You are absolutely prohibited from having them. You can't possess them, can't use them, can't nothing. They're illegal in Canada. That's Canada-wide. I can't imagine why anyone needs brass knuckles. Weapons in general, you don't need them. You don't need them according to Canadian law. Let's see here. Harsharan says, good morning, officer. Firstly, thanks so much for this podcast and providing this opportunity to ask questions. My question is there a law to have winter tires on, or it's for your own safety only? If it's a law to have them, what's the last day to have them on? And two, the warning ticket lasts for how long in your records? Well, Harsharan, it depends on where you are. In the province of Ontario, there's no law that prescribes or requires you to have winter tires on. It is, however, a great thing to do. I like them. I got them on my personal vehicle. I think I'm safer for it. It allows me to have more grip and control in inclement weather, when you're dealing with snow and ice and cold temperature, because it's not just about snow and ice. It's just temperature as well. It changes the way the compound, the tire, the rubber, if it's rubber, deals with. It stays flexible, pliable, longer in lower temperatures, and you're dealing with seriously cold weather outside. I think it was -9 without wind chill this morning. So again, it's not required by law, but I certainly think it's a good thing to keep you and your family safe. It allows you to like if you have a summer tire, it would be like riding on rocks in the winter. It just wouldn't work well. What is this? Chase says a follow-up, has a question about brass knuckles and asks for a follow-up if they're illegal if they're made from plastic. A lot of people 3D printing weapons, and the answer is they're still illegal. Brass or not brass, if you had rings, gold, silver, plastic, and they interconnected and made a reinforced punching device, you can have a single or a double or a quadruple, that is a weapon, and it would still be illegal. Certainly not something you should be doing. Is this a commemorative pin on my sweater? This is my polar fleecy jacket, uniform jacket, and it is. This is the Highway Motor 19 Andrew Hong, the Honger pin that we made for his funeral, for his memorial. If you don't know who Andrew Hong is, he's a police officer who was a motor squad officer who was murdered on duty. He was a friend and coworker, and it is a horrible loss. But we remember him every day and miss him terribly. So. Let's see here. Let's see what's going on. We have a good question that just came out from Nico Lassi. It says, Sean, I have looked up and down on the HTA and there is no 30%. Is that an interpretation of the Act? No. What you're missing is that the Act often refers to other documents. In this particular situation, the document you're looking for is the personal vehicle and light truck inspection code. It is what a mechanic and a would be looking at to ensure that you can safety it. So 30% is the minimum or the maximum you can have on tint before the vehicle is classified as unsafe for the road. Equally, you can't have anything on the windshield, and otherwise it's considered unsafe for the road. That is why we reference that, and that's what the HTA references. So that would be for unsafe vehicle if you have more than 30%. And in terms of tint-specific laws, if you're looking for a charge for tint, it's going to be specific to the charge of. What did I say it was? I said it earlier. Now it's not top of mind. Well, it's obscure interior motor vehicle with color or reflective tint. That is the HTA specific charge for making it that we can't see in, which doesn't require anything. That could be any level of tint. If we can't see in, you'd be guilty of that, and we would charge you for it. But we get into the numbers because there's an actual number that's prescribed, and we reference it because the HTA references it. Okay, moving on. I love these questions. Harsharan says, the warning ticket lasts for how long in your records? Well, I thought we were talking about tires, and since it's not illegal to have, or there is no requirement in Ontario to have it, I figured you didn't need the answer to that question. But warning tickets that are general warnings issued in our system never make it on your record. They aren't part of the they aren't part of your licensing record, your MTO record. They are something that lives forever with the police, though. So warnings are warnings that live forever. Let's move on. When a rental car's plate gets run, what comes up? The owner comes up with the owner, which is the rental car company. That's it. Doesn't come up with your information because your information isn't updated. Tea, good. Okay. Ahmed wants to know, hi, sir, this is kind of misinformation. Car's glass is not 100% clear from factory. Any tint applied to the front windows will most likely be under 70% light transmission. I work at a tint shop in Oshawa. Okay, it's not misinformation, but you're not allowed to tint anything on the windshield, period, at all, zero. Front windshields will most likely be under 70% light transmission. According to meters, I've checked with meters. I don't think you're accurate on there. I'm not going to argue with you because you're saying you have some information. 100% clear, certainly not. But at the end of the day, the concept is if you can't pass, and mechanics are required to have tint meters. They have to have them. If there's an inspection on a mechanic shop, they have to be able to show their tint meter. Whether they ever use it is up to them, but they have to have it. So, what's the story? The story is, at the end of the day, regardless of what you put on it, if it does not allow 70% of light through it, you are not legally operating on the road. What are the laws on batons? They're weapons by definition, and the carrying and use of them is going to be an issue. So if you walk around with a weapon in a public area, you can be charged for that. If you are a security guard and you have a lawful purpose and you've taken a course, you may have an issue or a reason to have it, but I imagine you want to be carrying some serious insurance because if you misuse that, you're going to be in trouble. Using a weapon is still something which might get you arrested, regardless of whether or not you're allowed to possess it or not. They're not restricted, they're not prohibited, but their use is certainly controlled, or at least there's consequences. How much over the limit does speed cameras take pics? I don't know. I honestly don't know, because it doesn't really matter. As soon as you go over the speed limit, you're speeding 1 kilometer or 100 kilometers. It's all speeding. There's additional consequences as you go faster over the limit, but don't do it. Okay. So I've actually I was reading a message from Ahmed who says front windshield, not front windshield. Windshield is AS1 and the most clear, and side windows are not. Again, not arguing with you. At the end of the day, if it's over 70%, it has to have over 70% at least light through it. You put any tint on it to make it illegal at that point, all you're doing is agreeing with me that you can't have tint. At that point, it's the minutia. If your window is dark and you put more tint on it, you make it more dark, that's illegal. It's not the level of tint that we're talking about. It's the total amount of blockage of light. So if you put 15% tint onto a window that only has room for 15% tint, and that makes it 30% blockage of light, that's the maximum. It's the end result of how much light, not the label from the manufacturer of what you put on there. Moving on. Okay. Can I put a high flow muffler on my vehicle? If it's a legal high flow, a cat or a legal muffler, sure. But it has to be meant for the road and meet the standards for the roads that you're using them on. Most of these things are not meant for the road. If they have no resonator, if they have no baffling, if they have no mechanism of reducing the noise or smoke, smoke is part of what the muffler is supposed to be reducing. Those are illegal. Let's see here. Radix. Welcome back, Radix. Can I appeal a parking ticket after paying the fine if I found a possible technical error on the ticket after paying? I don't know. You can, excuse me, there is a process. I don't know what that is today. It's been about 10 years since I've been in a courthouse from the perspective of a court officer where I used to give advice as to what was the policy at the time. So about 10, 15 years ago, you could go and apply to a justice of the peace to have a case reopened. That would require you to petition or to speak to a justice of the peace and explain why you deserve to have it reopened. But if you were guilty and it's just a technical error, I have a hard time believing that they would entertain that. It would also require you, well, you've already paid it, so that would be one of the requirements, to pay for it and then change it. What if you need tint for your eyes condition? Isaac wants to know. I think it's Isaac, small print. The deal is that there is no medical exemption. If you need tint, wear sunglasses. The tinting of your windows in your vehicle is different than wearing tinted glasses. One can be removed for easy driving and safe driving. Others cannot. But at the end of the day, glasses are not restricted. The vehicle's internals, inside cabin. I have to be able to see if you're on your phone, wearing your seatbelt, using alcohol or smoking weed. Whatever the case is, I need to be able to make observations. I also need to be able to identify you. I need to cough. And sorry, I couldn't cover my mouth while hitting the mute button to avoid the sound effects that you were about to get. Okay, let's go into the Q&A. How old must your car be not to have cats? Is it 1981? I don't remember what year it was offhand. Ultimately, as long as your vehicle was manufactured from factory without cats, it was probably manufactured before the law required them, and thus you would not require them now. If the vehicle was manufactured with cats, you must have cats. Hey, buddy, how are you today? Austinator wants to know. I'm doing well, Austinator. Thanks for asking. And y'all can't see what I see, but there are messages. He's coming in from Facebook. Yeah, things I can see. Okay. Can I ride a snowmobile at 15 at the side of the road? My understanding it is 16 years old. I think you have to have a valid driver's license, so that would be a hard no. Sergeant Campbell is the guru of snow machines. I don't know anything about them. I've never actually ridden on one, although he promises that one day I will have the opportunity, and I suppose I will do that then. But I don't know. My understanding is 16 to be on the road, period. Maybe this is a question we ask him again, but I never remember the answer because I don't know. It's not part of. There is no brain space available for snowmobiles. There's no extra room. Let's see. Saw a vehicle in the 401 pass a lights-on ambulance. This is an offense. If the vehicle with the lights on, I don't know why an ambulance turns its lights on if they're not actually going anywhere, but you should not pass emergency vehicles, and it's possible that that was a passing, not safety. I don't know. It depends on. There's no blanket lights on, don't pass, because we could have a vehicle with lights on traveling 20 kilometers an hour where you're not actively telling people to stop, and we could be closing a road, at which point you would be causing a problem. So I can't. I don't have a blanket answer for you. My apologies. My driver's license has my eyes power on it, but now I did the LASIK and obtain a 20/20 perfect vision. So do I need to update my driver's license? Thanks for answering our silly question. It's not a silly question. And that's Harsharan again. And the answer to your question is yes, you need to go in and have an eye test done. I had to do that. I don't require glasses for driving. I do require them for reading and some distance, but I'm well above the legal requirements for requiring glasses. So when I had my LASIK done, I went in, they did an eye test, and the X came off my license. They issued me a new one. That would be the answer to the question. Is a digital copy of a driver's license valid? Not in Ontario. We issue you a photo card. You are still required by law to surrender that photo card upon the demand of a police officer, along with your insurance, proof of insurance, and your vehicle registration, which includes the plate portion. And that's what's required to be surrendered. And it has to be surrendered for reasonable inspection of a police officer. So a photocopy, a photo, an email, a PDF, none of these are reasonable according to the Ontario Highway Traffic Act. But it is coming. Like, we are going to have a digital version one day. It just won't be a photograph of your license. Now, this is not to say that you cannot show us a photograph and say, I forgot it at home, but I do have this, because it'll still be helpful. And the officer doesn't have to give you a ticket. It's just that they might give you a ticket because you're eligible for a ticket because you've broken the law. So people really get confused and say, well, that's not fair. Well, it doesn't mean the officer has to give you a ticket. We don't have to charge you with anything. We choose to. Why do we choose to? Because we want you to have the memory of that long-lasting, I felt crappy for getting a ticket, to influence you to next time remember. Sometimes it's a warning. We give warnings all the time. But here's the big thing. I will teach you the biggest. You ready for the biggest secret on how to increase your chances of getting a warning over a ticket? Be polite. Take responsibility. Don't argue and be rude, because nothing makes me want to write a ticket more than getting attitude. I don't have to get attitude. I'm just here to do my job. And if you give me attitude, my ticket writing fingers, they get all sorts of energy. And instead of giving you a warning, like maybe I pulled you over for speeding, I'm going to give you the speeding ticket. There's no warnings in my book for that. But I don't have to give you the ticket for forgetting your driver's license. But when you give me a whole bunch of attitude and start lying to me, you get all the tickets. Oh, yes. Yes, you do. And that's not me abusing my power. That is me reminding you that you should be polite. That being said, I don't give anybody tickets anymore because I'm not currently on the road. Maybe one day I'll be back there, and then I'll be someone to watch out for, because I give a lot of tickets. I don't give a lot of warnings. Just saying, you are forewarned. What is the law with pellet/CO2 in the car or home? A pellet gun is what you're referring to, is still a gun. It's not a firearm by definition of the criminal code or any other code, because it needs to have a muzzle velocity over 500 feet per second to be required for. That would require you to then have a firearms license and fall into all of the things. You can have a pellet gun. If you're waving it around in your car, you're going to probably get arrested at gunpoint. But you can have it in your home too, because you can plink cans in your backyard. But if you use it as a weapon, it's a weapon, and you will be arrested. So that's the law. Don't point guns at people. Certainly don't point guns at the police, because we shoot back. We don't know it's necessarily a pellet gun. So a lot of horrible stories, less so recently, but I grew up with lots of stories of kids getting shot by police for pulling pellet guns or BB guns or cap guns. Look, it's a gun until we can verify it's not a gun. Let's see here. How long does an at-fault collision, I'm changing what you wrote because you said accident, stay on your record? So we don't have accidents. Accidents are like oopsie-doos that nobody's responsible for. A collision is someone's fault. Someone made an error. They either chose to drive too fast, they drove aggressively, they didn't pay attention to signs, they didn't yield right away, they didn't do something they were supposed to do by law, and that caused a collision. So how long does an at-fault collision stay on your record? It's not the collision so much as it is the charges related to a collision that stay on your record for 3 years from the date of conviction. Collisions happen, and your record will be based on the claim that goes to your insurance company or some reporting, and I don't know what they do. But in terms of collisions, if I charge you in relation to a collision or forgetting your license or speeding, all of those things stay on your record for 3 years from the date of conviction. Points stay on your license for 2 years from the date of the offense. I saw something here. Police, because they're police picky, not law. I don't know what you're talking about. Someone making comments. I love the comments. People get upset. They say, "Why are there so many trolls?" I don't have a problem with people who don't agree with me. I have a problem with rude people who make it difficult for people in the chat to read because they're just spamming. That's gross, and that will not obviously be appreciated. But you're not bothering me so much because I can't see it. I'm really in the Q&A, and yeah. How do I pay my ticket? I don't know what this ticket is or what that word is. Yeah, I don't know what it is. But how do you pay tickets? It depends on where you got the ticket or what the ticket's for. If it's a ticket issued by the Toronto Police, it's going to be a POA ticket. You go to the court. There's actually instructions on the back on how to pay it. I think they even have services you can pay online. You can also choose. You have to respond within a short period of time because you need to either choose to have a court date, have a meeting with a prosecutor, or simply pay it. Paying it's the same as pleading guilty. It does register a conviction. I got a ticket for not having insurance, even though it's cut off. I'm going to assume you're trying to say that you did have insurance. So fail to surrender insurance card is one charge. So if I demand to see your license, ownership, and proof of insurance, and you give me an expired insurance card, that is not proof of insurance. That's an expired piece of paper that once upon a time had proof of insurance. But that doesn't mean that you have insurance or you don't have insurance. That's completely separate. If I believe that you don't have insurance, regardless of the piece of paper you've given me or lack thereof, I can charge you with drive no insurance, at which point you have an obligation to prove to the court that you do have insurance. It's a responsibility the owner or person in charge of the vehicle has. Let's see here. Can license plate be on the dash? I love this question. The answer is no. It's against the law. In Ontario, you're required to display properly and according to the regulations a front and back plate. The front plate has to be in a conspicuous location that is clearly legible, and then the rear plate must be equally, legitimately, or legibly. What is it? It has to be conspicuous placement. It has to be lit on the rear. It has to be illuminated with a minimum of 3 lumens of light, and yeah, it has to be white light only. But the dashboard is a way to make sure you get really injured, and a ticket for $110 for failing to display your second plate. That plate, in the event of a collision, could become like what I call an Ontario shuriken. It's a piece of metal that can be considered sharp on the edge and create considerable damage in the event of a collision. A projectile within your vehicle, I wouldn't want it. Austinator wants to know, do I have 24 hours to go to the police station to give my driver's license if I forgot my driver's license at home? And the answer is no, you don't have 24 hours. You've committed the offense when you failed to surrender it. And the rest is something else. And thank you, Chase, for letting me know that there's volleys. We have something called Volley. Volley is something that allows you to send me video, voice, or text. And I'm going to go see what's going on here because apparently I've got 4 volleys waiting for me. I got a video volley. Let's see. We have Garrett, that's 23 hours ago. Let's see. Okay, we're going to go back to his in a second because I got to read it. So Michael sent me a picture. Okay. Michael had sent me a picture, which I obviously need to open. Combined Traffic Services in Saskatchewan. Is it Saskatchewan? Says this driver was going 64 kilometers an hour in a 100 zone on the King Road. The road surface was clear and dry. The driver was stopped to determine why. The result was the driver was ticketed for impeding. So the deal is that they were driving too slow based on the observations of the officer. Doing 64 kilometers an hour in a 100 kilometer an hour zone and impeding traffic by doing it is unnecessary slow driving in Ontario. And they could be pulled over and stopped for that. Obviously, if you're not in the right lane, you're in the left lane, doing 64 and a 100, I'd stop you too. I'd want to know if you were under the influence of drugs or alcohol to start with. And Michael says, what is this? So he says, I thought it was a maximum of 100 kilometers an hour. Can you explain this? And Garrett comes in and says, no motor vehicle shall be driven on the highway as such. Yeah, he basically quotes the wording for unnecessary slow driving. Jay says, good morning. And okay, asking again respectfully, what is the legality of a brake light with integrated turn signals on a motorcycle? So the signals have to be discernible from the brake light. If it's not easily discernible, it'll be confused for a brake light or a malfunction, and you could be getting a ticket for improper signals. I didn't mean to ignore you if I did ignore you asking, because I remember somebody asking if that was you. My apologies, but that's essentially it. If I can't identify a signal versus just a blinking center light, you could be eligible for a ticket. Can an officer choose not to pull someone over who is breaking the law? I saw this the other day. Absolutely. That's Holly Smith asking the question. And the answer is yes. If I determine that I'm doing something that is a higher priority, I'm looking for speeders, and I'm determined that I'm going to look for people who are doing 20 and over because that's my personal threshold, and someone does 10 over. They're still breaking the law, and I'm choosing not to pull them over because I'm looking for the big fish. Equally, someone who doesn't signal, I may or may not notice it, and I may or may not pull them over for it because I'm looking for speeders that day. If we dealt with all of the little stuff, we'd have no time to get the big stuff. We need to be ready when the big stuff happens, which is why so many people get away with minor things. And would I like to get everybody for everything? Sure. We need some cameras for that, though. Okay. Radix wants to know if it's legal to drive a car on a frozen lake. I have no idea because I've never driven a car on a frozen lake, nor have I ever been where a frozen lake is that would allow for I have no idea. I don't think cars on frozen lakes is a good idea, though. Legal or not, I don't think it's a good idea. Okay. Malik is suggesting that there's racism where one person of an ethnic group gets a ticket and another person doesn't get a ticket. I think that's a false narrative. I don't think that happens as a rule. I think we pull over vehicles for violating, and people of all ethnicities get tickets or get warnings depending on the interactions of that interaction. There's no blanket, white guy gets this, Asian person gets that, black person gets it. I think that's absolutely false. But anyway. Let's see here. Law on license plate covers. License plate covers are illegal. You can't have them. You can't have license plate frames even. We have Sergeant Kulik who is joining us.
Good morning.
Good morning to you. How's things?
It is good. I'm back after a day of training yesterday, so
you're all
ready to go.
Ninja'd up?
All ninja'd up.
We get annual ninja training. Was it ninja training or was it other training?
Public order training.
It's ninja-ish. That's like samurai. You got all the armor.
That's right.
I like that. I used to love watching ninja and samurai movies as a kid. That was my thing, and I was okay with the delay, like from having dubbed. That didn't bother me when I was a kid. Now, if I watch something on TV and the dubbing is off, it drives me bananas. I can't deal with it. And yet, my entire childhood was movies that were dubbed. Don't understand. Is it illegal to have purple plate lights? Purple plate lights. Yes, it must be white light on your license plate. That is a heat score. I will pull you over for a purple plate light and give you a ticket, $110. It's got to be. Everything's regulated. I saw someone yesterday driving north. They were driving southbound on the DVP when I was driving northbound, and they had green fog lights on their green Audi. If that is you, I saw you. Take those off. You're only allowed to have white or amber on your vehicle facing forward, and you would get a ticket from me if you were caught. It also looked kind of weenie. Just saying.
Yeah.
I just dissed his ride. It's so terrible. Okay. Let's see here. Sean ignored a volley because he knows he is wrong. What are we talking about? Is this the one? No, I can't designate my entire day. Let's see here. Someone put up a picture from Chase. This is the darkest legal tint on front, 30%. Yes. If that's 30%, Ahmed says most cars have way darker that looks stock. That is not stock. I don't know, Ahmed, where you work, but that is a tinted window. A front window in a motor vehicle is not tinted. If it is tinted in any way, it is tinted. I'm not familiar with stock windows that are tinted. I've owned many cars. None of them have ever come with tint on the front.
No, they're clear.
Yeah. He's saying that they're not as clear as the front windshield, which may be true, but they're still clear with a negligible or non-noticeable tint level. As soon as you put any tint on it, you fall within the spectrum of up to 30% maximum. And even if you prevent me, even if it's below 30% blockage, you prevent me from seeing inside, it's against the law. But Ahmed making a point of arguing with me. It's okay. I appreciate differing opinions. That's what we're here about. But you're still wrong.
The law is the law.
And you know what? You can interpret it differently, and you can go to court to fight it if you see fit, and then you can have a judge or JP, either side with you or not. I don't get offended. I just employ or write the ticket based on my interpretation and my understanding of the law. And if you interpret it and understand it differently, you get to convince an impartial third party. I'm good with it. Is it illegal to have a police scanner in your vehicle? Police scanners are really just scanners that are reading open channels. If a police service or agency or a fire or ambulance had open channels that were not encrypted and you could listen to them, there's nothing illegal about receiving those channels. It is, however, illegal to broadcast on those channels. So if you were a ham radio operator and were able to now mimic encrypted trunking channels, if you were able to get with the technology to do that and you broadcasted regardless of being able to hear it, you would be breaking the law.
I think the majority of police services now have encryption.
Yeah.
Overall, I'm not so sure that the paramedic services do, but we definitely do, and hence why, in years past, prior to it being encrypted, let's say, for example, I was going to a break and enter in the middle of the night at someone's residence. While I'm there, I would have trucks show up to do window repair and so on because they would scan. But now they don't have that capability, and it's for safety reasons too, right? So.
Privacy is a huge thing that was never an issue back in the day. Why are license plate covers illegal? So we covered the fact that they are illegal. You can't put a clear, a tinted, a reflective, a bubbled, an ornate. You can't put a license plate frame. You can't put the dealership plate. You cannot obstruct, obscure, cover any portion of an Ontario license plate. It's against the law. Why? Because it is. I mean, really it's because the law says you can't do it. I can speculate as to the many reasons as to why. One, you can't obscure. You can't make it harder to read or decipher what the license plate says. You put a tinted, bubbled, reflective, something that creates it changes the direction of light traveling through the piece of plastic, so it's harder to read. That all makes scanners, like automated plate readers, and police officers' jobs more difficult, as well as the public who is trying to identify vehicles for crime or for being involved in a collision. You're working against the system. You're making it harder to identify the vehicle. License plate frames that cover portions, sometimes they cover the Ontario. Well, how does someone who sees a car drive by where it says Bob's Motors that covers Ontario, how do they know it's not a Saskatchewan plate? You need to be able to read the entire license plate, period. And some of them are just devious. Again, it's to protect the plate from bubbling, but really it's a polarized filter so that the camera system on the 407 can't read the plate. There's a ton of reasons. And at the end of the day, it bothers people, and that's too bad. Vehicle Valley says volleys. Are there more volleys? Let's see what's going on. I got to hit close. And good morning, Sergeant, from Jace.
Good morning, Jace.
Is it illegal to put your plates upside down? Absolutely. It makes it.
And why would you want to?
Because people want to put flags upside down. They want to put all sorts of stuff upside down. What's this? Oh, so he's a volunteer firefighter, so he has his scanner close by because it's a provincial fire dispatch. Very cool. And I see Chase is recording something that we'll no doubt get notified of in just a few moments. Back to the QA. Oh, I actually got a couple of pending questions here. Don't mean to be ignoring the folks coming in from Insta Live. While driving, if snow builds up on my license plate, let's try that again. While driving, if snow builds up on my license plate, any issues? Reasonable. We have to talk about what's reasonable. If you clear your snow every morning or every time you stop your car and get in and out, it would be reasonable that while you're driving in a snowstorm, more will accumulate. If that accumulation is obviously from yesterday's snowfall and your windows are clear but your license plate isn't, I would give you a ticket. If your whole car got cleaned off very nicely and there was fresh garbage from the road and from the snow and it just accumulated and where it would normally accumulate, I'd give you a pass. I'd let you know, but I'd give you a pass because it's reasonable. Now, we're not out there to hammer everybody with a ticket just because we can. We're trying to change behavior and ensure people are doing the right thing because that's the right thing to do.
And we're out there to educate too. That's part of our job.
For sure. Not every vehicle stop has to result in a ticket being issued. 100%. I've given many warnings, but I will tell you that it's the minor stuff that I give you warnings for. If we're talking about speeding, you get a speeding ticket because that's what I'm out there to do. I'm there to change driver behavior. If we're talking about your insurance card is maybe invalid by a month or your license plate expired by a day, like that's not stuff that I really care about. I care about the stuff that hurts people. Now, will I give you a printed warning so you don't get so you don't get two warnings in a row? You're going to have to deal with it. I want you to deal with it, but I'll give you a warning for the minor stuff. And if you don't fix it by the next time you get pulled over, hopefully you never get pulled over again, but if you get pulled over again, then you get the ticket for the minor stuff because that's how I roll. Let's see. Fishing Rookie says, can there be any tint on the front windshield? I've seen many trucks with what is called an eyelash, 1/3 at the top tinted for sun shading. So the deal is on windshields for motor vehicles that are manufactured 2016 or older or before, you can have 3 inches or 75 millimeters from the top of the windshield to the AS1 or 3 inches, whatever happens first. That is legit. You can do that. 2017 and newer, nothing on the front windshield at all whatsoever. It's considered unsafe. You can't certify the vehicle with it on. So could you lose your license plate for it? You could, technically. Chase has finished recording his volley. Let's go see what he has to say. What do we got here? So Josh also sent a message. Okay, Josh's is a picture, so I'm going to look at Josh's first. Josh sent me a picture of a police vehicle that has a bicycle rack on it that is blocking the license plate. How do I report this officer? You could certainly report this officer if you so choose. It is against the law. There is no excuse for it. They should relocate that license plate. Do I think that's a minor thing? They are a police vehicle clearly marked with their numbers on it. And are they technically breaking the law? Yeah, I guess they are. I can't argue and defend it. Okay, let's hear Chase's stuff. Hang on, we're going to rewind.
If the police are on a traffic stop and the driver does not have an insurance card with them, so the officer calls the insurance company says the vehicle is insured, but not for drivers under 25 years old, and let's say the driver is a teenager, is that like a no insurance charge?
So here's my interpretation on that. There's no law that says that we are not that the vehicle is not insured for persons under the condition imposed by the insurance company. The vehicle is either insured or not insured for the purposes of being on the road. If you allow someone under the age of 25 to drive the vehicle and they wreck that vehicle, they're going to deny the claim on their end. That's their personal private company policy. From the purposes of a police officer, that vehicle is insured for use on the road. That vehicle that is being driven by a driver who has a valid driver's license, that's the end for me. I don't care if they want to cover them in a collision or not, because the basic liability that is required on all vehicles to be on the road will still cover anyone that they hurt. But that vehicle is going to be written off, and it's basically no comprehensive, which chances are if they're letting someone drive under and contravening their stuff, they probably don't have comprehensive anyway. But that would be my interpretation. Is there a way to lay a charge for violating a private company? There's no way for doing that. There's nothing that I'm aware of. Albright wants to know if it's illegal to install a kill switch, like a remote ignition disabler, so that you could prevent your car from being stolen. No, in fact, we suggest it very often. It's a good thing. There's all sorts of technology. I saw a great CTV news clip on TikTok, as a matter of fact, that had a guy who installs a system into the car. And you then, when you start the car, you can't actually start the car. You have to punch in a keyboard combination using the buttons on your steering wheel. I want that for my truck now. I think that's awesome. It's one more thing to break, but I think it's so cool because I don't want my car to go missing, even if they somehow bypass the ignition stuff that I have employed already. So it's really just a waste of money for me. Yeah, but I think it's cool. I've seen some commercial trucks with a metal brow mounted above the windshield, essentially narrowing their view. Any thoughts? That is a great question from my friend Ryan in Nova Scotia. And the answer is that's not part of the windshield. Could you be obstructing the windshield? That's a different story. It could be an obstruction of your windshield. However, the tinting of a windshield is regulated very specifically. The mounting of a brow outside of the windshield doesn't fall under the same thing. It's not part of the windshield. So it would be a different law. What was it? It says, you read my volley wrong. What I read wrong there, Jace? Were you trying... What did he say? Let me see. I don't know what I read wrong. Did you not mean to say good morning, Sergeant? Okay. Moving on. I do not claim to be perfect. Close to perfect, but not perfect. Everyone's like rolling their eyes. All right. Especially my wife. I can tell she's rolling her eyes. What are you guys doing to stop vehicle theft? We are strongly suggesting people take steps to make your vehicle less attractive for theft. That's part of it. Education's huge. Get yourself a club. Make sure you park in well-lit areas. Make sure you don't leave your keys at the front door for them to scan and use a relay device. Put a OBD2 port blocker. Put in a remote kill switch. Because those are things that you can make your vehicle less attractive to thieves who are, I want to say they're losers who are stealing your stuff because they're taking a path of least resistance rather than going and getting a job. It's a very lucrative business. They want to make money and they don't want to do much work. Mind you, I guess it is work to be a criminal, but regardless, I'm calling them losers because I'm being offensive specifically for them because crime is bad.
And if you want to put a camera on the front of your house, it's not going to prevent. It doesn't prevent break and enters. It doesn't prevent your car being stolen, but it does assist the police in the investigation. Maybe we can see a face or descriptions or last known direction of travel and so on. So that's always helpful as well.
And at the end of the day, we can do all sorts of things to try and prevent. The sad thing is always somebody willing to steal your car next, and there's nothing that will, like you could put somebody put wheel chucks, like you can buy from your own wheel block that, like the parking warriors do in the States. And that may not prevent them because sometimes you get a tow truck that shows up on your driveway to steal your car right out of it. No ignition requirements. It is click, click, gone. People have broken into houses to get keys out of the house to go steal the car with people or without people in the house. Like if they really want it, they're going to get it. So we can give great advice. And at the end of the day, there's no guaranteed stopping or blocking of that. I mean, people who gated communities, they put gates around their house to prevent their cars from being stolen. You can only do what you can do. And from a police perspective, there's an investigation. And I got to say a caveat. I've never investigated car theft. I don't work for the auto squad. I have no experience. But my understanding of how things work is is that they take reports and they build intelligence and they do their thing to try and stop these criminal elements in organizations. But it isn't your car got stolen and we're going to do everything we can do to stop your car individually from getting onto a ship and going to wherever they ship these cars. It's part of a holistic approach trying to shut down the networks of thieves. That's my take on it. Correct me if I'm wrong, but a lot of people very upset, including my dentist. Shout out to my dentist who had his truck stolen off his driveway. Like,
it happens all the time, and a lot of times it's in the darkness of night when you're sleeping and you have no idea, right? And and I have done calls where and I've seen video where the perpetrator comes up to the house. There's usually two people. One will stand by the house. They have a computer. Somehow or another, they're able to take the signal from the vehicle key, which is inside the house, while the other person has some kind of other device to get in your vehicle, and away they go within like a minute. So they don't even need your key.
That's it.
And it's gone.
It's sad, and there are people, and then there's the really brazen ones who, like somebody, a friend of a friend had their Ferrari taken. Like the guy came up to him with a knife and said, "I'm taking your car."
Yeah,
like,
carjackings.
It just happens.
Too.
There's no thing.
At the end of the day, it's sad to say, but it's just property.
Yeah.
So as long as somebody doesn't get hurt, that's the most important thing.
We have a question of the Uvalde massacre. What are my thoughts on it? You know what? It was a horrible tragedy. Getting into second guessing what other people did. Obviously, it's already been in the media, and I don't think it's appropriate for me to comment on it. I'm not an officer that does that sort of thing, and I mean that by I have a personal from watching the news, but not a police opinion on that. Okay. How long will a speeding ticket stay on my record? A conviction will stay on your record for 3 years, at least in your current record. Your lifetime record remains your lifetime record. If you go and go to a job, to apply for a job like the Toronto Police that asks for your full driving history, you have to go buy it from the ministry and bring it. It's going to have everything. It doesn't expire. It's there. Yeah. If you're talking about a current record that your insurance company sees, it stays on for 3 years. Let's see here. Chase says, so do MTO certified mechanics have to hold your vehicle if your tint is illegal, won't pass safety if the work they have no authority to hold your vehicle that I'm aware of. You can't not release a vehicle. You just can't, like, what do they do with it? They won't issue a safety certificate.
Yeah.
I can't imagine them being, deputized to seize property. I don't know how that would handle. That was a very interesting question. I've had that question before, but it's still very interesting, despite the fact that I've been heard.
That's a question for the MTO.
Yeah, I would check with them. Whoever licenses mechanics, the sad truth is I've never heard of a mechanic who says your car is unsafe, but I'm going to store it here for you for free until you save up enough money. They're going to give you your vehicle back probably, and you're going to be now aware of the fact that it's broken. And when something happens, you are going to be responsible for what happens next, because if you try and pin it on them, they're going to say, "No, I told them it was not safe." And now it's up to you. That you should get towed to your next destination. You shouldn't drive like that. Listen, if we as police officers tell you you're not driving, that's a lawful order. And if you break that, we can charge you for not listening to us. There's no lawful order against a mechanic. But good luck in civil court when you're sued for driving it like that. Can I add a amber flashing light in my private car just to be visible in snow or fog? Please don't. We talk about this all the time.
You have headlights.
You have headlights, you have brake lights, you have amber lights, you have hazards if you really need to. But my God, my biggest pet peeve are people who put flashing lights or use their hazards in fog or snow, or inclement weather. That suggests to people that you are a hazard. And if you're driving and consider yourself a hazard, you shouldn't be driving. Really, it's meant for vehicles stopped at the side of the road because you don't want people to hit you because you're an immovable object. As soon as you get into the realm of driving around with a flashing light, you're a distraction, blinding other people. Don't do it. Jace says, what does he say? He says something. You have to press close. I believe if it is so seriously unsafe that it can't leave the lot, then they can hold it for force you to get a tow. I don't know. I appreciate all the opinions that are being shared about what a mechanic should or shouldn't be able to do. I don't believe they have the lawful authority to hold your stuff. I don't believe that many of them want to have a fist fight with you if you try and take your stuff back.
Yeah.
If you I don't know. MTO, check with them. And Chase says, everyone, please watch season 7 of Heavy Rescue if you want to watch and see Carrie Schmidt getting stuck on the 401. I have to see this now. I did not
Okay.
know that. I've never watched that show.
No, I have no interest in that.
Are IRS tickets a thing in Ontario? IRS, if you mean the Internal Revenue Service, but I don't know any other IRS acronym. So break it down for me if it's something else, because we don't have an IRS.
That's American.
It's America. We have the CRA, the Canada Revenue Agency.
That we all get those fake phone calls from.
Yes, they don't text you. They don't text you. Why does it take months to hear back from the courts? Sadly, because they have a lot to do and not a lot of people to do it, and it's a government agency, so the wheels move slowly. They don't have to move quickly to talk to you, so they don't. I guess that's the easiest thing. They
One
don't get
day
paid
at
on
a
performance.
time.
Yeah, they get paid the same whether they work fast or slow. That would be
If you
my
don't
assumption.
hear back in a timely manner, you can try following up with them to see, and I'm sure they could tell you what the status is if your matter's been attended to or is impending.
We have a question from Kindness Ogrun. Oh, I can't pronounce Ogan. I can't pronounce it. I'm doing it no service, so we're just going to call you Kindness because that's a wonderful name. The question is: are safety keychains with no weapons legal in Canada? I think a safety keychain with no weapons are just keychains.
Yeah.
I don't know what that.
Like, is
kind
it
of-
like with a whistle or?
Yeah, I don't know. If it's not a weapon, it's probably legal. If it doesn't have pepper spray, it's probably legal. If it's a window break, if that's what you mean, like a seatbelt cutter and window break, that's perfectly legal. But I don't know what specifically you're talking about, so I can't give you a blanket yes or no without knowing more. But it's wonderful. Kindness. Thank you, Kindness. That just makes me happy saying it. Let's see here. Missed the median. Can you make a right from the intersection? Missed the median. Can you make... So is this where there's a dedicated right turn lane, but now you've gone past the point of no return, you've missed it, now there's a median in your way, can you make a right turn at the intersection? It's not a turning lane, so you're making a turn from a non-turning lane.
The potential for a collision is very high there because the person that is going to be turning in the proper lane, you might not see. So, probably
Yeah,
not.
I think it would
I
be
would
one
say
of
go to
those,
the next block, circle around.
Legal or not, I would say for your safety and the safety of others, it would be better to take the long way around and make a safe turn, regardless of whether or not you get a ticket. If you got into a collision, you'd be the at-fault car in the collision. That's what I'm saying. Are cattle prods, stun canes, legal? Now, it's Chase, so two things are true with a Chase question. One, he's probably got the answer already, and two, he comes up with the most obscure stuff to ask, which I appreciate because it does make for an interesting show. So thank you, Chase. I actually know the answer to this question, and there is a particular length of stun cane that is not prohibited. You're allowed to have it. It's a stun gun, essentially, that is permitted under Canadian law. Unless you take it like downtown Toronto, because that's a weapons dangerous charge, and if you use it against a human, you're still going to get charged. It's meant for when you're going hiking. You can use it for animals, and that's what it's for. But be very, very careful should you decide to play in the realm of stun canes, because you're probably going to get arrested and or taken down at gunpoint in the event that you're meeting up with police officers. Oh, hey, look at that. He says 480 millimeters or greater is legal. Yeah, I know. But you know what? I tell you, he's looking for that gotcha, but he didn't get me because I knew that. But thanks, Chase. I do appreciate it. Let's see here. Is it illegal to have halos in your headlights? So this is going to be an interesting conversation and a quick one at that, because we want to jump in with the 6 minutes we have left. Halos are illuminated glowing elements within a headlight housing that cast a very light, not a very bright light. And it's usually of another color other than white. I've seen them in all sorts of colors. If you talk to Sergeant Campbell, he will say that it's illegal. You're projecting light forward other than the color of white or amber. And I think that is not meeting the requirements of a headlight, which must be 300 lumens or greater to be considered a headlight. So I don't think it's technically projecting light. However, I think you will be stopped on a regular basis and have to argue it in court. So while I have my own personal opinion on it, I would err on the side of Campbell and suggest that I would not put halos in. If you have factory halos, then those things are approved. If you have non-factory halos, I would say that don't add stuff, don't waste the money. You're probably going to end up getting pulled over and ticketed for it. Okay. I like that air on the side of Campbell. Yeah. What is this? How does a restraining order work? That's outside of my describing that is outside of the realm of my what I feel comfortable giving advice on. But my understanding from a layperson is that it's basically something that is issued suggesting that you can't go near someone, and if you go near that person, you can be, the court's explaining it and get arrested. That's the simplest way.
That's the summit. Yeah,
Yeah,
easiest way to sum it up.
If you get a restraining now, yeah, because then we start getting into all sorts of other things of do they work, are they effective, and I can't speak to that. But yeah,
If you're in a situation where you are thinking of getting one, or there's been a court order of one against you, or whatever the case may be, that type of thing is best to consult a lawyer and ask their legal opinion, because I think there's different kinds for different situations too.
and that's different than
so.
a peace bond, which is issued by the courts by two parties who are, feuding, for lack of a better word. It depends, and it's too. I don't want to give you bad advice, so yeah, consulting a lawyer is the way to go.
Yeah.
Boom, boom, boom. Let's see here. What happens to a ticket when you're waiting for court? Absolutely nothing. It just
It
remains
waits.
impending. You are not convicted, so there's nothing currently against you. And until there's either a finding where it's dismissed or your conviction is registered, it's just an allegation, not an actual conviction. It's 4 minutes. I feel pressured. Should you pull over for someone who has a green flashing light? Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes, yes, and yes. That is a volunteer firefighter. That is someone who is trying to save the day in their own special way. Please pull over to the nearest curb or edge of roadway and let that hero pass. Now, if they're faking it, then I hope that they are met with the harshest punishment known to man in the afterlife. But they that is truly someone trying to go and save someone or someone's property, and it could be your house that they're going to. So get out of their way. It's not something you'll see in Toronto. Flashing lights on it. Green flashing lights in Toronto are actually a command vehicle for fire. In Peel, they use green flashing lights for their command vehicles for policing. But that's in conjunction with the blue and reds. If we're talking green only, and it's someone's
Personal car,
that's a volunteer firefighter. They're not allowed to speed. They're not allowed to go through red lights. They are only giving you that courtesy notification that they're on their way to something special. Get out of their way, and we ask that you please do. Thank you to all the volunteer firefighters out there.
Yeah, shout out to them.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of good work they do.
Absolutely. I wanted to be a volunteer firefighter, but they don't do it anywhere that I've ever lived.
No, we still have them in my community.
It's cool. Why is pepper spray illegal? Because it's illegal. No, it's a weapon. And it is not illegal to buy and own and use for animal defense. It's called dog spray or bear spray. And it's marketed as that. You can buy it and you can carry it. But if you use it against a human, you're going to be charged with assault with a weapon.
And
A
it's
noxious
not the
chemical.
same as the pepper spray that we carry either.
Right. It is there to save you and your animal from attack of coyotes or whatnot. And there's a reason to have that. And you go hiking in the woods, that's a good thing to have. I'm not going to say you should or shouldn't. It's legal, but it has to be clearly labeled as bear spray. It can't have any CS tear gas or stuff. You buy stuff in the States, it comes with CS tear gas. That's actually a major offense that could get you a year in jail for possession of it. So you got to know what you're carrying. If it's marketed for human use or for use against humans, it is absolutely illegal. Are green and white flashing lights lawful? We were talking about green flashing lights. You shouldn't have white flashing lights because you're not allowed to project white light to the rear. So that would not be lawful. I see people driving fast. So do I, and it drives me bananas. Fortunately, we have the magical team of Vision Zero enforcement officers who go out every day to find people who are driving fast to change that behavior one ticket at a time. Hey, if you've been watching and you don't know who I am, my name is Sean Shapiro. I'm a police officer with the Toronto Police Service here in Ontario, Canada. I talk about traffic safety, traffic law, and police stuff every single day, except for weekends or days I take off, like tomorrow. I won't be here tomorrow. There won't be a show tomorrow. Maybe I should do 10 extra minutes just because of that. And the excuse to keep talking, right? Off camera but on mic is Sergeant Kulik, and the two of us are the Safety Programs Office. We make magic here every day. But yeah, I really can't stand the whole speeding thing. That's a pet peeve. A lot of people do it. A lot of people don't think it's a serious offense, but I do. The slower you go, the less chances of serious injury or death. That's the thing.
Yep.
So we're reducing speed on roads. Ryan Pinn says, I don't miss the days of CS tear gas when I was on my BMQ, which I imagine is a military course you did. And CS tear gas burns the skin. I've deployed CS tear gas in the States, and it's amazing what wind does, because you spray it that way, but then the wind carries it back on, and it burned like the worst sunburn.
And then the worst part is when you go to shower later, you get reinfected.
Oh, Well, pepper spray is pepper spray, but CS tear gas doesn't require you to get into the. It burns the skin directly. It was miserable. I'm pretty sure it was bad stuff. Background check is okay from a place you don't live. I don't know the context of that statement. Have a nice day from Alex. Why don't you pull people over with peeling plates? We do. We absolutely
We actually ran a
do.
campaign for that last year.
Yeah.
And had a lot of tickets and warnings and all kinds of stuff issued.
But at the end of the day, it's still a priority situation. The priority is the stuff that leads to serious injury and death. And sadly, that charge, as annoying and terrible as it is not. That doesn't outweigh the need to change driver behavior and make it safer for people. We want to protect vulnerable road users, cyclists, pedestrians. Peeling plates are bad, and we'll deal with it when we can, but it can't be the priority. It's just not the number one thing.
Yeah, and if you have a peeling plate, just go to the ministry, get it changed out. I think if it's less than 5 years old, there's no cost.
There's a warranty, yeah. And
so
certain generations of plates go beyond 5 years. They've continued to replace them because they were known to be defective by the manufacturer. But yeah, is it $52 to replace your plates if it's not covered by warranty? Way better than the $110 you're going to get repeatedly if we pull you over for it. Will we ever stop paying for the 407 highway? I have no idea. I assume no, because
they've sold it.
It doesn't belong to us.
And it belongs to, I don't know who now. So they're making their money instead of us.
What inspired you to become a police officer? Ba, 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 ba. Chips, the television show Chips. I just recently went to Los Angeles to meet with the original cast of Chips, the television show, not the horrible movie that came out later. It was totally. I was a kid who grew up wanting to be Poncher John, ride the highways on a motorcycle. I got to live that dream as a member of the Toronto Police Motor Squad. Chase says that the 407 is on a 99-year lease, so maybe one day we'll get it back. Not in my lifetime, but sure. But it does cover the ever. All right. What have we got here? We got. My parents are insured, but I am not. Can I still drive? If you live with your parents, you may be violating a policy condition, which means they might deny a claim in the event of a collision, but the vehicle is insured, and technically you're a licensed driver, so technically you can drive the car. We wouldn't ticket you for it, but again, I'm sure mom and dad would be very upset when their car is written off and or the repair bill is $50,000.
Yeah.
Because you violate it. Just pay your monthly. Not only does it be added to their policy if you're going to drive, because then you start establishing an insurance history, so your insurance rates will eventually go down. It's the way to do it, and you then don't run the risk. Insurance is just a necessary evil. We don't like paying it, but I'll tell you, having been in 2 collisions, one on duty and one off in the last while, it's very nice to have insurance that covers. I had a $20,000 damage to my vehicle. If that $20,000 was somebody else's fault, so their insurance covered it, but had it been my fault, I couldn't afford to put $20,000 out of pocket to fix my truck. It's important. And if I would have hurt someone or someone would have been hurt, the lawsuit would have been. Even if it wasn't your fault, they sue everybody. You want that insurance. You want to make sure you're protected. All right, we're going to wrap it up. We'll be back not tomorrow, but Thursday and Friday. So a little break tomorrow. You won't see me or anybody else, but we'll be back on Thursday and Friday for more magical Ask a Traffic Cop. If you've got questions in the meantime, use the Q&A function. We try and continuously go through and respond by way of video, creating content on our channel. If you want to join us on not Ask a Traffic Cop, what is that other thing called? Volley. Our Volley space. We are also in there, and I try and be as active as possible. It is a community. Many of the people like Chase and Michael and Josh, they know stuff. They watch the show, and they very often jump in and answer questions to the best of their ability within the community. There's 140 people in there right now, 143. Come on and join. Join us. Volley, it can be the link to invite you into our Volley space can be found by going to trafficcop.ca, which is a link that takes you to my link tree. It also gives you access to all of our fantastic content across both the social media world, as well as useful links. The useful links for like how to check if your friend's license is valid before lending him your car, if you're buying a used car to make sure it's not stolen, if you want to renew your license plate or your license or your health card, there's a link for how to do that. So go visit it. It's got stuff and things to deal with, and you can come say hello on our other channels. Have a great day, everybody. I'm going to put on the music.
Take care.
The music that I always put on. And, drive sober, park legally, because Erin's waving her fist. And, that's the story. We'll catch you later. See you tomorrow.
Yellow light, red light, green light. go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow. Watch for pedestrians, look out for bikes, and don't drive like a jerk that no one likes. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Put down your cell phone, nobody needs you to text and drive on the DVP. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Stop at stop signs, look both ways, then go. Seatbelt, save your life indeed, and watch your driving. Don't speed. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely is the way to go. Don't drink and drive or smoke some weed, because you might go to jail and not get free. Yellow light, red light, green light, go. Driving safely helps the traffic flow.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4,